All right, looks like we've got a deal for the U.S. NHL broadcasting rights. Sorry, the lighting kind of sucks in here. Having the sun right outside really makes it more difficult, but we're gonna get some new curtains in here and make this nice. But it looks like ESPN is going to be about half of the broadcasting rights for the NHL starting next season. So as you might have known, NBC had the previous agreement. It was 10 years for $200 million a year, so a $2 billion deal before, and they basically had all of the rights in the US, and then Rogers had all of the rights in Canada. And everyone expected that this would be a big bump in the numbers. We don't have numbers yet, unfortunately. But for the example, like I said, NBC's was $200 million a year, while Rogers in Canada is currently $436 million per year or so. So we expect that ESPN and this new deal should really bring that number up, especially having two people involved. Now, we know that it's a 7-year deal, and it's likely going to be split between ESPN and NBC. So ESPN gets gets 4 Stanley Cup Finals. So they get between 2022 and 2028, they get 4 Stanley Cup Finals. I'm assuming that means that they are going to have 22, 24, 26, and 28, and then NBC would get the other 3, would be my assumption. So NBC would get 2023, 25, and 27. I'm assuming their number's probably going to be a little less than ESPN's. ESPN also gets streaming rights. I don't know exactly how they're going to structure that. Basically, Disney as a whole will have the streaming rights to the NHL. So whether that's ESPN Plus, whether maybe they build live streaming sports into Disney Plus or Star or any of their services that they have, or maybe ABC. They have a bunch of streaming services sort of under their umbrella that they could use. But I believe my guess would be ESPN Plus would sort of be the main place for streaming. So we know it's going to be 2 people, ESPN and NBC. ESPN involvement does mean a lot for hockey as a whole. SportsCenter is a very heavily watched program, but I've got 4 reasons why ESPN is big for hockey. The first one, hockey's going to be advertised on ESPN, right? We're going to have, if people are watching, I don't know, what sports are even on at ESPN? People are watching, let's say someone's watching Monday Night Football in October, right? It's Monday Night Football, although I think Monday Night Football's rights are up for auction. But either way, for example, let's say people are watching Monday Night Football and they say, hey, by the way, be sure to come watch the the Kings and the Penguins Tuesday night on ESPN2 or whatever the hell it is, right? And that just brings more eyes onto the sport, and it's always a good thing. And number 2, SportsCenter. SportsCenter doesn't show a lot of hockey stuff, and this might incentivize them to a little bit. Maybe more, they could even steal some of SportsCenter Canada's things, like sort of the top 10s, and just sort of try to build hockey as a whole. Shouting out the next big game, again, on SportsCenter, being like, showing highlights from a game and saying, hey, if you want to watch tomorrow night, we've got a game between the Rangers and Islanders, a real marquee matchup that might be able to bring some people in as well. And I have a good stat on this. I think this is from a year or 2 ago, this number, but SportsCenter has in the US 115 million viewers every month. So that's basically a third of the U.S. watches SportsCenter at some point every month. So that's definitely a nice boost if they're showing more hockey highlights here. More credibility sports-wise. Currently, as of this last year and the last few years, you've seen hockey on NBC, which is good. You had things like the Winter Classic, the Lake Tahoe game on NBC, the premier network. But then you had games on NBC Sports Network, which isn't sort of a standard thing that everyone has in the U.S. Almost everyone has ESPN in the U.S., right? You have ESPN because you watch Monday Night Football, or just if you're a sports fan at all, you probably have ESPN in the States, but you might not have NBC Sports Network because they show other things like racing and. I don't live in the States, so I don't know exactly what they show, but it's less stuff. And they are also showing games on USA Network. Now, USA Network does have more subscribers than NBCSN, but those people who are subscribing to USA Network probably aren't subscribing to USA Network for hockey. They're probably, maybe they're watching Suits, or they're watching some other, whatever other shows are on USA Network I have, again, no idea up here in Canada. So being on ESPN, you have a more sports-focused audience. It sort of brings more credibility to the sport as a whole, especially if you're on ESPN1, and if they're doing maybe like something like Wednesday Night Hockey, like a Wednesday night at prime time on ESPN, if they can get on there. And number 4 is the sports shows that ESPN has, and lots of people hate these sort of talking heads shows like First Take with Stephen A. And all those other types of shows where ESPN has for like, the whole morning is basically just people spitting out hot takes about sports. Well, maybe these people who know nothing about hockey will talk a bit more about hockey. You get Stephen A's hockey takes or some things like that, which could bring some fun on Twitter and something to talk about. Now, looking at these networks, NBC is killing off NBCSN. Like I mentioned, they had NBC USA and NBCSN were the 3 things that NBC showed hockey on. They are killing off NBC Sports Network, so all of their games will be on NBC, the main network, or USA. But again, ESPN has the other half of the rights. And before this, the NHL was the only major sport that only had one network. And more exposure is always better, right? The more channels you're on, the more likely someone's scrolling through and they'll be like, oh, maybe I will just watch this game, right? And like the NFL is on every major network, right? They split between like CBS, Fox, and NBC. They all have games at different, Thursday Night Football games during the week, or Fox and CBS, and then you got Monday Night Football on ESPN, for example. They also are on Twitch for Thursday Night Football, Amazon Prime. So the NFL is all over the place, right? The MLB is on both Fox and ESPN, and of course all the local networks. NBA has ESPN, ABC, same umbrella, and then TNT as well. So the NHL was the only one that was really sort of sticking to one network with ABC or with NBC in the States. So branching out again, more exposure is always better. Another fun thing I want to just put in perspective. Again, we don't have the actual numbers yet, and I'm actually just going to refresh to see if those have come in yet, but I do doubt it. Yeah, I have nothing here yet. But if we look at the other networks, like the NFL makes over $8 billion a year. The NBA gets $2.7 billion per year. The MLB gets $500 million per year, which is about the same as the NHL, but they have everything on local networks because there's 162 games a year. And just for perspective, Monday Night Football, like I said, is up for auction. ESPN is offering $2.4 billion per year for Monday Night Football. That's like 16 games, maybe 17 next year because they're adding an extra week. So they're willing to pay $141 million per game for Monday Night Football. The NFL is asking for $205 million per game. And meanwhile, the current deal that was coming off from NBC was $200 million for the whole year. So just some crazy perspective. Obviously, hockey has a lot of growing to do. But other good things on this is salary cap. The 50% of all hockey-related revenue, that includes broadcasting rights, goes to the salary cap, right? So currently, coming into this year, $636 million per year. That's $400 a year or so from Rogers, $200 a year from NBC. So adding, let's say this new deal, let's just say it doubles. I think it's more. My guess would be it's more, especially with the two networks. Let's say we go from $600 million a year to $900 million a year, right? That's an extra $300 million infused into the game. $150 million of that would be hockey-related revenue, and each team would have another $5 million on the salary cap, just like that. That's before anything else. Obviously, it's a flat cap for the next couple of years because of COVID, but definitely just something to keep in mind. More money coming in from these broadcast deals also makes the game rely a little bit less on gate revenue. And again, it's always just good for the sport to have more money flowing in, bigger advertisers potentially, games hitting more eyes, especially with streaming, using Disney. Lots of people do have ESPN Plus, whether that's for like UFC, people who like signed up for it there, and now there's another sport to watch that also includes some fighting. Anyways, let me know your thoughts below in the comments on, maybe do some number predictions. That $200 million per year from NBC was signed back in 2011, right? So that's a long time ago. And the game has definitely grown since then. The salary caps gone up by like $30 million since then. So leave your thoughts below. If you enjoy this video, make sure you hit subscribe. We're almost at 1,000, so that would be cool if we get there soon. And anyways, I'll talk to you guys later.